Hi, if you like the video, please remember to subscribe. Let's face it, sometimes we can get a really bad case of gas gear acquisition syndrome. And sometimes it can feel like the best way we can improve our photography is to buy better or more expensive equipment. You know, we've all, including me, we've all done the research, you know, looking at which lens is better, which lens is sharper, that camera body that's got a few more megapixels, the idea of going from a crop sensor body to a full frame sensor, or maybe you're thinking about going from DSLR to mirrorless or from compact to DSLR. And the question is, does that correlation really, does it really hold up? Does spending all that money really lead to better photographs? I think there's no doubt that newer cameras and lenses, more expensive ones, produce technically better photographs. Photos that will have more detail, a better dynamic range, better colour, better contrast, they'll be sharper, better tones. But does that really have anything to do with creating, a great, moving, touching, emotional photograph? I think the question has to be, does the technical excellence of a camera and a lens have anything at all to do with creating or capturing great images? So to kind of try and answer this, what I thought I'd like to do is have a look at some of the greatest photographs of all time. And obviously these are just some that I've picked. I haven't got any permission to use these photographs. I'm just using them from Google image search so we can look at them that way. And what I want you to realise is, as we're looking at these photographs, that if you're shooting with a DSLR camera or a compact system camera, I guarantee the camera you're using is technically better, can produce technically better photographs than any of the cameras that we used to take these photographs. So just remember that. You've got better equipment in your hand or in your camera bag right now than we've used to take these photographs. And use that to kind of think about whether you really need any different or more expensive gear. So let's dive in and have a look. Okay, let's start with an obvious one. Afghan Girl, Steve McCurry. Fantastic portrait, shot on 35mm film. It's about an arresting as a photograph, a portrait, that you'll ever see. As I say, taken on film, with the camera, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago. Amazing photograph. Ooh. Burning Monk, Vietnam, 1962, 1963. This gentleman was protesting at the, I think it was how corrupt the South Vietnamese government was. Amazing photograph. Ooh, yeah, right. Omaira Sanchez. Yeah, this is a really emotional photograph, this one. This young lady was actually trapped in I think it was an earthquake in Colombia in 1985. And the photographer who took this photo actually got quite a lot of grief afterwards, because Omaira was in a outlying village, a remote village, and where she was, the building collapsed around her and her legs were actually trapped under concrete. And I think it's her dead auntie's underneath there as well. And the aid workers, the people who got to her, just couldn't release her. And the only way that they could have released her was to chop her legs off. And they didn't have any equipment to try and keep her alive. And so they waited for a few days to see if any other help could arrive in time with heavy lifting equipment. But as it was, it never did. And this photo was taken just before she slipped into a coma and died. This photo is of, in the Second World War, near the end of the Second World War, of some Jewish prisoners who had been liberated from a train that was going to a concentration camp near the Elbe. And so you can imagine these people were going to their deaths and they'd just been released. This one's taken from Hurricane Katrina in America, and here we have Tanisha Belvin on the left,
a young girl who's holding the hand of another Katrina victim, Nita Lagarde, who aged 105, as they were evacuated from the convention centre. Not quite sure where, but amazing, amazing photograph. Iconic image, Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston. She's just knocked him down, and Muhammad Ali saying, "Come on, get up and fight." Obviously taken probably with the, I don't know, maybe with a 35, maybe with a medium format sort of camera, under the bright light. Superb moment and emotion there. Want to make you laugh? This is a couple of British footballers from the late 1980s, early 1990s. So this is Paul Gascoigne on the right, who was a prodigy, a genius of photography, and you have Vinnie Jones on the left, who's a hard man of photography. And Vinnie's kind of been told, you need to stop Paul Gascoigne doing his magic, and there he is, making sure that Paul Gascoigne knows exactly what Vinnie Jones thinks of him. Do I really need to say more about this particular photo? Atomic bomb tests. And I don't think I really need to say anything about this one either, the falling man from the attack on the Twin Trade Towers. I love this photo. This is Irish rugby captain of their national team, and Brian O'Driscoll, and his team have won the Heineken Cup, and he's visiting hospital, and you can see the sheer joy on this little girl's face as he comes in and shows her the trophy. Amazing. This is a real simple photo. It's just something that somebody's seen, and it's a dry cleaning shop, and they've got a sign on that side that says, "If you are unemployed and need an outfit cleaned for an interview, we will clean it for free." Really touching. And here we have the last image for this set. This is a soldier called Liam Tasker with his dog Theo, and they were bomb disposal team. They would track down bombs. And shortly after this photo, Liam was killed, and this is in Afghanistan. And a couple of hours later, his dog died of a heart attack. So yeah, there we go, some fantastic photos. So hopefully I've given you a good answer to the question about whether better gear makes better photographs, and the answer has to be no way. We've just looked at some amazing photos, and they were all taken with cameras that were technically inferior to the cameras we're using today. Now, sure, you need your gear to be reliable. You might need some long lenses if your speciality is sports or wildlife. But if your image has to rely on being technically impressive to be considered good, the sharpness brigade, unless it's incredibly sharp, it doesn't matter, then really it isn't a great photograph. As photographers, we can appreciate a sharp photo with loads of detail. We might even gain some pleasure out of that as well. But don't ever confuse technical excellence with great images. Great photos are about emotion and story. They're about sharing a moment with the world. And often, they touch people in hearts, or maybe their minds. Maybe they make people laugh. Maybe they make people cry. And if you're really lucky, maybe they do all of those things. You need to be in the right place at the right time, whether that be a sporting event, a demonstration, a war, a family gathering, on the streets, in the countryside, at a wedding. And when something's about to happen, or you think something's about to happen, you need to have that camera ready. You need to be brave enough to put that viewfinder to your eye and shoot away, and maybe, just maybe, if you do it for long enough, you'll capture something magical. Now, there are some things we can do to help us to take better photographs. We can practice, so we know our gear backwards. We can have our cameras on us, so we're ready. We can study composition. We can look at the work of great photographers. We can go on workshops. We can read books. We can watch videos. But most importantly, we need to get out there where the action is happening. Maybe instead of spending money on gear, spend it on going to interesting places and events. I'm not saying don't upgrade your gear when it needs replacing, or if you need to expand your capability, say if you need an extra wide angle lens, or maybe you need spare equipment so you've got on it for professional use. But don't kid yourself that it'll make your photos better. And what I'll do is I'll leave you with an iconic image taken by Mike Wells in 1980, and just ask yourself if this photo would have any more impact if it was taken with better kit.